Hi, my name's Dee, your Professor of Woo Woo, and welcome to Sunchild Tarot, and welcome to our bi-weekly look at the latest lunation to come. With me, of course, I have astrologer David Fischer. How are you doing, David?
Hey Dee, doing good. Thanks for having me again.
Well, it's my pleasure, as always. Now, just before we dive into this full moon, a little bit of channel business. Yeah, I haven't done any readings for April. I'm sorry, guys. It's not happened. I caught COVID. It was horrible. So readings will return at some point. But yeah, we'll just have to see. I even took time off ready to do them and then ill the whole time. Wouldn't you credit it? So that important, obviously important and earth-shattering business out of the way, because after all, someone did tell me that I had abandoned them by not doing readings. I
mean, I heard some Capricorns felt that way, but you know, rumors. Right,
let's have a look at the moon. What do you make of it? I know we had said a couple of things before we started filming, and I think you've come to the same conclusion as me, so crack on.
Well, this full moon is interesting because it happens in a benefic sign. That benefic is in a good condition. I'm talking about some particularities that we're going to go over, but there are challenges within the whole context that if we are aware enough, we can just easily navigate them because of the well-provided support of the Venusian condition. So let's dive right into it. Well, it has some interesting configurations to it. If you look, you'll see that the ruler of the moon, Venus, is versed to its own sign, Libra, and you have the sun and the moon being connected only to the malefics, Saturn and Pluto. So this on itself suggests that in order to achieve that level of consciousness that we need to let go of the things that we need to let go of, to really bring to materiality the things that we have been planning during the beginning of the cycle, we need to focus on the long term. We have to have a broader view, according to the Saturnian, larger influence, influence sphere. Sphere of influence.
Sphere of influence.
Yes. Thank you. So you have that relationship of the luminaries with this malefic being in good dignity as a good thing. It's more of if we try to be as disciplined as possible with this particular energy, which is a Saturnian word, if we try to aim for the higher Saturnian expression here, we might find ourselves seeing our priorities more clearly, being able to access the things that we value the most in order to prioritize what's necessary rather than just what we want. But it's going to be kind of frustrating. There is that level of frustration. We're still, if you remember last time, I think I also addressed it with the new moon in Aries, some level of frustration during this cycle. Well, now is kind of where you are fully aware of that particular, reason of why you have been made frustrated in this particular cycle. And you want to let go of it. You want to balance the act. And the only way to do it is being very Saturnian. You have to be methodical. You have to be self-determined. You have to tell yourself, this is what I came here to do. These are my goals, and I cannot stray from them. Otherwise, I'll see everything else around me crumbling. I'll see everything around me falling to the ground, and I need to keep up the plan. It's a trine, so it's not going to be that heavy a burden to even be that disciplined. You're going to feel the need to do so, but it's still motivated by the opposition between the moon and the sun, which is that difficult aspect. It's a challenge to the moon.
One thing that I noticed going through that, there's very much a feeling of just one step at a time. Don't try to do too much at any one time. Just I don't want to say baby steps, but segment and small goals, one after another. What's that phrase? 1,000-mile journey starts with just one step, or, you know, that sort of feeling.
Very good.
One step at a time.
Very applicable to this particular scenario, because you have the moon and the sun being cardinal signs, and those cardinal signs, they are not being seen by the rulers, Mars and Venus. They're in Pisces, both of them averse, as I said earlier. Not sure I mentioned actually, but they are averse to that lunation, to both the luminaries. And so what we have is some kind of frustration, motivated because they can't see each other, motivating our prioritization. It's like I was trying to follow through this route because I wanted to harmonize things, but now I see that harmony is not possible. So the only way to bring things to harmony is to really let go of that, which is already showing not to have a harmonious nature. It's not my job, in other words, it's not going to be my job to harmonize the situation or to bring peace to anyone's mind, or to be responsible for the, how do you call it, the consensus of the group. We cannot be responsible for that. We have to look for people and for groups that are already embodying the same principles that we want to be a part of, that we want to embody, that we want to move like, that we want to move with. So in this sense, I say all that because the aversion between all these planets suggests that there is an idealistic side that's bringing things to an end. You have I'm playing with the modalities here in my head. The luminaries are suggesting that we are doing stuff, we are beginning things, we are initiating action towards our goals to try and harmonize the situation according to what we see as more appropriate, according to our values. You have the sun being our truth, our true face, the people that we like in ourselves too, and have we found them? Do we feel like we belong in that particular place and we are respected by the people around us? In our individuality, how is that being expressed by the environment? And right now, we feel like the environment is not really providing us with this particular ideal that we have. Why? Because we have Jupiter and Venus with Neptune, which gives you that ultimate idealistic sense. Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune together is a soup of I wish this could happen so strongly that I manifested a fairy godmother in fucking reality, you know? That's how powerful this combination is if you're delusional enough. You can really believe the craziest shit if you want it bad enough, and you will see what you want to see if you want it bad enough. Problem with that is that it's being averse with the luminaries, and the luminaries only being given that perspective over Saturn, which is a long-term planet. It's a very broad signification type of planet. It signifies social structures, social belonging, or not belonging in this case, and finding the people that are like you because you've been estranged from the home group, you know, from where you originated. So it's good to find it's good for finding your own people, but at the same time, because it's averse to that whole idealistic scenario, you don't really find the joy that's motivating the prioritization in the first place. So it's like, oh, I want to have this particular job because I feel like I'll be able to go to the movies more often, or to do things that I love. I said go to the movies, but it could be anything that you love more often. But now that I have the money, I feel tired and I don't want to do that. And so, well, I have the money, but I can't really do what I wanted. I can't really put to use the way I was expecting to put it to use. So how can I be more disciplined with my routine in a way that I will be able to find enjoyment, you know, with what's being given to me? Because my previous ideal, even though it's been giving me good stuff, it's not giving me exactly what I hoped for, and that's annoying to me, you know. I can't do the things I planned, and I feel forced to do the things that I don't really like first. But what we don't understand is that when we make a move forward, we are giving up on some idealizations already and on some possible paths that were kind of motivating our idealism in order to push us forward. But that's all they were, fuel. They weren't meant to be end goals, you know? Like, oh, I wanted to go out and do all this stuff with the new job that I got. But then you only end up doing other types of things that you didn't expect, but that you find some enjoyment in the long term, but you have to be present with them. You end up not doing what you wanted before because it was not really a goal. It was just something to inspire you to move in that direction, if that makes sense.
That absolutely makes sense. I mean, some of the things that I was seeing is that whatever that you're intending to do, there will be some form of obstacle. But the obstacle is something that, yeah, you veer off direction while still trying to keep that end goal in mind, and you end up heading towards that end goal in a different direction than what you initially intended.
Exactly. And it completely, and that's the thing, because this situation seems to be offering us with one hand while poking our traumas and triggers with another.
Yes.
You know, being like, do you want this bad enough? How bad do you want it? Do you want it bad enough to bargain with fate in a way that's going to strip you of your initial goals, and it's going to give you this, but in a form that you didn't expect before? Are you able to accept it in this form, or are you, or don't you want it at all? Or do you want to give up on it because you're not able to accept that you're not going to get it exactly as you want? You see?
Yes, I do. And that springs to mind something else that I was noticing with Chiron. Chiron has only demonic influences to the other planets, relationships, sorry. There's no angels linking Chiron to another planet. So it's almost like there's the temptation as well. Do you really want to keep hurting this way? And that's such a big question, because for some people that's a, well, yes, it's a genuine hurt. It's there. You know, it's something that I'm wanting to deal with, but there's also, yeah, but you could put that hurt aside and try all these new ones.
Exactly. I mean, I was going to mention that connection to Chiron because it's, you know, there's time for everything in life. Time to hurt, time to feel happy, time to plant, time to reap. And you have that idea of understanding the timing of things. And that doesn't mean that you've solved every issue. It's like, if you have a planet going through Aries and you have some hurts that arise in the world around you through circumstance, whenever a planet goes through Aries, if it's a difficult house for you, if you have a difficult planet, whatever it is there, you will feel this full moon, for instance, with the sun telling you, but I feel righteous about my pain in this area, and I need people to acknowledge it in order for me to heal it. But they're not going to acknowledge it. They're going to give you opportunities to suppress it and to just put it aside, just to see if you can stop identifying with the pain for long enough to allow it to heal.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And once things leave Aries, until that part of you is poked again, you're not really going to feel, and it's going to be poked by Jupiter, so you better be ready. And Venus. But before it's poked, you are seeing the truth of it. You're seeing, and it's going to be poked by benefics. So it's going to be like, oh, I didn't need to freak out as much. I had all these circumstances coming my way just because I relaxed into it a little bit. And circumstance acts like that sometimes. It allows you, before you see manifested the results that you want in terms of healing, because you think you will heal once you have this particular material base, or this particular relationship, or this particular circumstance that you idealize in your head, and then you can relax, and then you can be happy, and then you can
as you were
heal.
saying about other people acknowledging your pain, this particular audience, because that's a point I would like to pick up on, which is part personal philosophy, but part I can link it to the fact that the moon is in the Four of Swords decan. A Four of Swords moon, you rest, you relax, you meditate. You need to acknowledge your own pain, not display it. Do you know what I mean? It's your job to come to terms with your pain. No one else can do it for you. And there's that sense of being able to just have the opportunity or forced circumstance to sit with it for a while. And for a lot of people, that won't be comfortable.
Yes, and that's not comfortable. I mean, for people who have a lot of Saturn in their charts, they're probably aware of how the drill goes, or how the thing goes. Yeah. And they're going to be ready to do that reflection, even though it's tiring. It feels like a stretch when you already feel your muscles giving up on you. It's that final stretch, but it's necessary, and it's necessary. And people who have a good relationship with Saturn in their charts are going to be able to do it. They're going to be able to get through it. If you don't have a good relationship with your chart, be warned. You're going to fall more for the side of the idealism, and you're going to be feeling very frustrated that people are not acknowledging the things that you expected them to acknowledge because you've been putting so much effort into it. And it, in this case, for each of us, will be determined by the topics and planets around these houses that the luminaries are affecting and that the idealism of Pisces is going on. So do check the topics that these signs are happening in your chart. So for Aries and Libra and Pisces. And so for you who has the Pisces stellium, let's say in your 10th house, it's all going to be about, I thought my career should be this way. I thought the people that I was involved with could propel my career in this manner. All those of you who are Gemini rising, I thought that I would be able to connect to people in a particular manner, that I would be popular at this point in time in a way that I expected to, network. Some of you might have that experience at some point in life, if you are at a certain point in life. But for many, it's going to be just frustrating, and it's going to feel like, no, but I have done the ritual in a certain way. Mercury, the ascendant ruler, is going to through the 12th house right now. So it's like, I'm doing this particular thing in a certain manner, in a mercurial way, with a certain ritual, and it's not giving me what I expected. How is that even possible? I'm just going to keep going in this direction and insisting and being a little authoritarian. So all 10th house significations that you have to learn to deal with frustration to get through right now, and just learn to let go from the grip a little bit of trying to manifest that ideal so thoroughly, so exactly as you planned, So learning to let go a little bit. That's one thing for people who have Pisces in the 10th. So just so you guys get the gist of it.
Just because everybody's always interested in this stuff, just put it in the 7th.
If you put it in the 7th,
which is not me, by the way, but it's
for some people
how the dynamics work out. That'd be Virgo rising, wouldn't it?
It would be Virgo rising. You're right. Yeah. So you have that stellium happening in the 7th house, and that would be an idealism around relationships. It could be that you're trying to make your relationships work a little bit too hard, and that idealism and pressure really puts into perspective for you 8th house and 2nd house matters. Like, do I have enough support from my peers and from the people that I love and from my family to feel safe? Or do I need to be an individual that is completely out in the wilderness on my own, because I feel like I cannot trust the relationships that I have. And right now, the idealism in wanting to trust these relationships and being afraid of speaking up for yourself, of assuming a more Martian role of, exalted sun-like, of being, no, I don't agree with these particular stances, Mars being through your 7th, spicing things up a little bit with those idealistic planets, challenging a little bit of the ideal. With the sun being in Aries, you being like, no, in order for it to be balanced, I need to speak my piece thoroughly. I need to completely expose to the people involved what's my stance, so we can all move forward with it. And if you have it in the 4th house, it will be about family matters, home situation, that you want to keep something going in your home, but it doesn't go quite as planned, because you feel like you have to think about your future and break away from certain things that need to go in your life. The 4th house being endings as well, and the 5th and the 11th being creativity and reconnecting with other people, other social groups. And if you have Pisces rising, I'm sorry for you. No, I'm joking.
I was just thinking about that. And if it's in your 12th house, good luck.
Yeah, no, it's actually, it's the 2nd and the 8th again. It's just reversed from the Virgo rising. But it's still going to be reversed. And it, like the Virgo rising, it's going to be a more difficult time to stand up for yourself. But in a different, like, you're going to feel very self-righteous right now. If you're a Pisces rising, you're going to feel very self-righteous. There's no other word. So don't play that card. Just know that there are several perspectives to a narrative. And if you try and be the one that's right all along, just so people notice you're paying more than their own, you're just gonna, be alone, and that's not ideal for a Pisces rising.
Right,
but
so
it's very ideal. It's in a way, again, being able to sit with those idealistic thoughts and being able to address them objectively, being like, okay, what's supporting in my routine this particular goal, this particular ideal? What am I doing to get to where I actually need to be, in order to not just be drifting around my waters,
Now, I want
Not sure
to
if
point
that
out
even makes sense.
at this stage, because everything that we've talked about so far is pretty depressing, there are blessings in this chart as well. But this is the stuff we have to get through to get there.
Well, you know me, I'm a Capricorn. I'm never going to get to a point unless it's, checking everything that's on the surroundings to make sure it's safe.
Tell you what, let's talk about the negative stuff,
Yeah, let's dive into the bad stuff now, because we've been talking light so far. But yeah, I think there is a lot of newness being offered all at the same time, and we need to be focused if we want to get to a particular goal. That's all. That might seem very general, but right now the energy that's being disposed to us, and many of you might be feeling, is very dispersed. You want to disperse. You just want to focus on what's easier because it feels right, and you feel entitled to it. Mars is going through it. Mars is just saying, I want to feel good. And find that joy, or else, that we were speaking last time, you really found it. You really managed to get into that space in your head where you're like, fine, I found a way to act in my routine that's just ignoring everything that was going on in the background. And now I can just focus on what I want. And if I do that for long enough, everything is going to go away and I can just manifest the things that I want. And that's a perfect plan. Well, sweetheart, it's not like that. It doesn't happen like that. You'll have to acknowledge your pain through the process. You'll have to acknowledge how uncomfortable it is in relation to what you had idealized, in order to have a balancing act with the ever-changing perspective of circumstance, with the wheel of fortune, And right now you're being offered pretty good perspectives.
Yeah.
You just have to do the hard work of thinking about which of these good perspectives are actually good and which of them are only appealing to escapist sides of you that you have been trying to suppress, or not even suppress, but just to reintegrate, so you can, heal them.
There's one thing that I've written down in my notes is that there's a lot of challenges within this chart. There's, especially when we bring the 12th parts in later, there's a lot of squares going on between planets and 12 parts and what have you. There's squares. Was it Rick Levine that keeps saying that squares are something that can be solved creatively? And a lot of these squares are being backed up by septile relationships between planets and 12th parts, or 12 parts and 12 parts, or and vice versa. So it's almost like there is, spirit is pushing lots of things to our to your attention. There's lots of oh, you want to do this, let's just put this obstacle in the way because we know it's going to trigger you, and you can figure out how to not let it trigger you and how to walk past it or not, your choice. And that there does seem to be this push in this moon. And this is why one of the things that I said is step by step, slowly take that Four of Swords energy and just whatever it is, feel it for a moment and then work out how to move on, and not necessarily take that feeling with you.
Exactly, like noticing your feelings in order to get information rather than personalizing, what your body is trying to tell you. Because you can become your fear. You can become like a robot that's programmed by reacting fearfully to any type of situation that triggers a stronger emotion. And that's trauma response. And we need to be able to acknowledge that in order to reintegrate that. One thing that I wanted to comment on with that is just the sextile between Venus and Mercury, and Mercury's conjunction to the North Node and Uranus. Well, we see that there are going to be a lot of power dynamics around this full moon. There are going to be trigger points. I say that because Venus and the moon and the sun are squaring Pluto, as well as trining Saturn. So the power dynamics, they're really like, well, I've been dealing with people like this that impose their own ideals of the world on me for a long time. Pluto in Capricorn since 2008. And through this whole time, all of these people that have come through my path, that have taught me how to be myself in a confrontational way, they have brought up the side in me that I don't necessarily identify with anymore. And I feel like I need a new stance. I feel like I need a new approach. I feel like I need to reconnect to my truth, whatever it is in this, under this new scenario. And just say like, that plan that I had is good enough, but I need to think, I need to communicate with the people around me about the possibilities in order to really achieve something here. So the communication is not going to bring out any resolutions. It's just going to allow the situation to balance itself, but it's not going to bring out any resolutions that are satisfactory to any parties. It's just going to catalyze the situation. Venus and Mercury are in sextile, stimulating that good communication and stimulating that the debates are going to take you to a new level, and that they're going to be productive and fertile, and that they are going to produce in the long term some form of harmony, because they're all in Venusian powers here. Venus rules Libra, it's an exalted and received by Jupiter in Pisces, and rules Mercury, Uranus, and the North Node in Taurus. So all of that to say that we are questioning our own value system, we are questioning what laws we abide by, and by questioning those with the right people and taking that up to the people that are hurting us, to the people that are threatening our sense of well-being, our sense of, the entitlement to feel respected, right? In your own skin and in your own way of expressing yourself. That's being challenged right now. And Venus in Pisces is just like, well, you know what? I think this way. I act this way because you offer explanations, even though you don't have to, you choose to do so, you know, being more confrontational and upfront about those things will allow you to see how you're differing from the general perspective, will allow you to see the true colors of people in reaction to your outspokenness, you know?
Which is a double-edged sword.
Which is a double-edged sword. Justice, you know, the justice card, that's the moon in Libra here for you. And so, yeah, and the Four of Swords is that sense of, I need to think before I speak, but when I speak, I'm going to speak with truth, and I'm going to be speaking from a place of being ready for the consequences of what that causes me, you know? And so I speak with certainty from a place of stability in my mind, not just pure recklessness and reactiveness.
You're putting a lot of faith in people there, because there's also...
No, I'm just saying the higher road, you know.
Surely there's also...
I think people are going to be avoiding that shit.
When you find you're in that position to speak, especially if you do just suddenly go, bleh, it's not just other people that need to listen to you. You need to listen to you. You need to listen to what you're saying and go, hang on a minute, is that right? Or do I have to keep telling myself this? There's that, that's maybe not the higher road you were talking about, but it's certainly a middle road.
Well, yes, I mean, relationships are going to be what allow us to have hand mirrors are a very Venusian symbol, or one of the symbols of Venus. It looks like a hand mirror in the chart. So it's like relationships, they really reflect you to yourself. When you tell other people what's bothering you in them, you get an opportunity to get into contact with what you repress in your personality that you aren't even aware of, because then people are going to get back at you saying their own motives. They're going to be like, but this is how I feel in this situation. And then you're going to be confronted with your judgments and the process of those judgments. And you're going to be like, wow, I judged that very quickly. And even though I was right in a few points, because that's how it was affecting me in a way, I didn't need to be that harsh in the judgment, you know? And if I hadn't been that harsh in the judgment, I might not even have propelled the situation to get to this level, you know?
Yeah.
You realize that when communication is off, there's kind of a build-up situation that wasn't that bad at the start, but it becomes so bad because of a series of misjudgments. And with the moon being averse to Venus and Mercury, communication is key. You need to force that communication to happen, because you're going to want to go off on a tangent. You're going to want to just be in your victimized state and say like, but can't you see I'm hurting here? Can't you see I'm being victimized in this sense for so long, and I feel righteous about my own hurting? And you'd be like, yeah, sweetie, but we're all going through a pandemic. You know, we're all going through the same situation. We live in the same neighborhood. We live in the same city. We are under the same laws here. So we're all experiencing changes in our routine. And yes, the system is flawed. But if you want to resolve every single societal issue as soon as possible, as well as the immediate, survival issues that you have right now, you're not going to go very far. You're not really going to do anything, because you're going to find so much resistance with things that already had resistance, being talked about before everything was going to shit. Now you're going to find it impossible to get through to people, that don't want to listen to you. So just trying to do that communication is not going to cut off well enough. And that's what I was saying about the frustrations and being satisfied just that you tried to go for it, because that's going to reveal a lot to you about yourself and how you can prioritize the things that are truly important to you, factually. But you are not going to B, perhaps granted exactly what you idealized, and being afraid of getting that response is not going to save you from it. So you might as well just communicate how you feel so you don't explode.
That's really interesting, because the angel in charge of this new moon of 26 Libra, by degree, not by quinance, is Anuel, 6 of Swords in Travis's deck, even though it's a 4 of Swords decan. Now,
Can you show it again?
Yeah. Do you want to compare the bi-wheel? Now, Anuel is, interestingly, here it says perception of unity, protects against accidents, heals the sick, protection for commerce, bankers, and brokers. So if we're wanting to affect societal change because of the world's injustice and evil economic capitalism and blah, 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 this isn't the weekend to do it.
Yes.
Which is pretty much what you were saying a moment ago, where
you have to play,
where people aren't going to be receptive to the actual response, not responses, the utterances that you are saying of, I believe this, I feel this. You've got to take that.
Everyone has their idealism on the max right now, so it's no use.
And you've just got to make sure that you're okay with your idealism and that it's not leading you to come a cropper. Now,
yes, because you have the moon trine to that Saturn, so being aware of the larger structure of things. And mind you, I know how tiring it is to deal with people at, you know, the top of the chain or something that are going to look down on you and just think that you're the shit on their souls because you don't match up to their level financially. But you know, that's the reality of society and right now. And trying to go against it as if it didn't exist and as if you had a higher power that was invested on you by God. You know, some people in history tried to do that and were somewhat successful, like Joan of Arc. She didn't live past 19.
Yeah. And there's also there's a time and a place. Are they going to be receptive to your message, or are they going to be defensive to your message? Because defensive is not what you want. They're not going to cooperate.
Exactly. Yes, you can be a Joan of Arc that is going to have some psychedelic, schizophrenic sort of experience, get to talk to the King of France and just, you know, raid the English as if there's no tomorrow. But it's not every day that that's going to happen. It's not every day that the King of France is going to listen to you.
Slowly, gently, step by step. Now you've brought the 12th parts up. Sun 12th part on Saturn. Again, echoing that story that we were talking about earlier of step by step, what can we build? How can we do it slowly and definitely?
Yes, slowly but surely is the motive. It's the motive for this particular full moon. And it's releasing. Full moons are about releasing and letting go of things. And moons in the Via Combusta, which is a place that already treats it in the zodiac in general, because it has this falling kind of qualities going into Scorpio. It's that place where things, especially tropically from the northern hemisphere perspective, also applicable to the southern hemisphere. But you have that sense of Libra being associated with autumn and having that falling, waning of life and light kind of quality to it, and getting more into the dark side when you get into Scorpio. Both the sun and the moon are not doing very well, don't do very well in the Via Combusta. And this particular full moon is challenging, and it makes you question your own ideals, question your own reactions to circumstances, and they make you much more disciplined. And if you don't want to be disciplined, you're going to be very disappointed in this particular waning cycle.
Yeah, I want to look at Uranus, because we're still under that Saturn-Uranus square. I mean, there's so much that's still going on. We have Saturn square the nodes. We have still the very, very slowly fading embers of the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. The Saturn-Uranus square, as we was joking earlier, Uranus is quincunx its own 12th part. It's like Uranus doesn't know why it's doing what it's doing. It's just doing. And that, I think, is echoed by a lot of the other squares that are in here that are also backed up, like I said, by the sense of spirit of septiles between two planets, 12 parts or what have you. Whereas these squares, these obstacles, these try and do things a little differently. That's one of the huge messages, we could call it that, that seems to be coming through, is just try and do it a little bit differently, because the way that you was going about it ain't going to work.
And it's not even your fault. It's just the way circumstances heading right. It's going right now. Things are volatile. You have too much mutable energy in the sky, as you can see with this Pisces pile up. And if you try and really establish patterns around things, all you're going to succeed in doing, if you're too headstrong about it, is annoying the hell out of people around you.
Yeah.
You know, and isolating yourself right now. And you don't want that. You might feel like you want that because people are already annoying the hell out of you, but that's just the hard work that you need to do right now of trying to make a balancing act. Of course, if you're talking about an abusive situation, it's always the best choice to leave it. But if you're talking about, you know, roommates that have some space respecting problems, or if you're talking about bosses and co-workers that don't really get along well and you have to have a project together, there are things that you ought to do that don't take your feelings into consideration, that you need to just, you know, breathe and get on with it.
Especially because I just noticed, although I had noticed it earlier, but Lilith knows exactly what she's doing at the moment.
Yes.
You know, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is,
well, I think it's a provocative thing. Lilith is very confrontational. In Cancer, it's giving us more of that hurt state of Chiron that we were speaking of in Aries. But I have been hurt in this way, and I will never be hurt in this way again. I will not bow my head to this kind of behavior. I will not endure this type of marginalization and things like that. But again, and it's in a moon sign, it's in the moon sign. But then again, even though we're feeling all of that, the moon is averse to her ruler. It's, you know, in a trine to her exaltation ruler. So she feels she must uphold some sort of higher standard, and to talk for herself, you know, be like, the moon is like, no, I need to be more independent. I need to break through from the situation. So I need to do whatever it takes. And I feel very hurt about it. I want to ignore it. I want to unleash my demons on it. But you're going to have to be very disciplined about it. And you're going to have to know your way around it, not to make a mess out of things. Because Lilith is also going to be wanting to make very clear why she's not happy.
Again, there's two levels on that, isn't there? Because like you were saying, that independent, I refuse to, how was it you phrased it? I refuse to let this hurt me again. But you can spin that on its head and say, I refuse to be hurt by this again. I understand it will happen again, but I am not going to be hurt by it next time.
I like that. I like that.
Fierce independence inwards.
Yeah, that's definitely a higher manifestation of that energy, yeah.
And again, that backs up, because I want to just snip onto the Sabian symbol for this moon, which is of an airplane, get my teeth in, airplane sailing high in the clear sky. And talking about getting that again, I feel that Four of Swords energy, because you're stuck in an airplane. You've got a beautiful perspective. You can see everything out of your tiny little window, but you can see for miles out of that tiny little window. But you're very aware that, one, it's a tiny little window, but two, it puts so much into perspective. It's giving you that isolated, you're stuck in a plane, way to look at things and just go, okay, and understand what better word is there than the lay of the land? So this strikes me as a more of a learning moon than a doing moon, because you try to do, you will find an obstacle that will cause you to need to proceed in a different direction.
And that's the mutability in the sky again. That's the instability of the ideals that Jupiter and Neptune together bring, because they are very promising. But once you get through the smoke, you're just like, oh, there was a beacon, like there was a light beacon in the distance, but I thought it was, several. I thought I was surrounded by safe spots, but I only had that one to follow. I'm glad I chose that one. Through my experience, I saw that particular beam of light as the right one to follow. But how do you identify it? Is by really trusting your inner process and trusting that you can make right decisions on your own for yourself. If you trust other people and get lost in their shit in a Seven of Cups kind of way, you're just going to find yourself drowning in lots of emotions that didn't even have to be there, just because you got caught up in other people's mess.
Yes, don't be indulgent in all those emotions. Just observe them and let them go. The other thing I would say is trust in your guidance. So yes, you're owning a process, but there's going to be certain things where the world pops up and goes, nah, not that way. Just try just a little to the left or a little to the right, or a little different method. And that in and of itself is also another form of the guidance that we are being confronted with. Now, have we got any more negative stuff to talk about, or can I talk about the hidden blessing in this moon? Keep the chart up.
Yeah, you can.
Right, Yelahiah. Yelahiah.
What did you call me?
Yelahiah has, like any angel, 5 degrees dotted around the zodiac that form a pentagram, and 5-degree quinance. Now, the quinance, if I remember correctly, it's the first or second quinance of Scorpio. So the moon's about to dive into Yelahiah's zone of rulership. But on the basic chart, Mars and Uranus are both on Yelahiah's degrees. You include the 12th part chart, we have Neptune 12th part and Venus 12th part. So just for reference, because I haven't written my notes in a sensible way so that I can see them. So that is 13 degrees Taurus, 25 degrees Cancer, 19 Sag, and 1 degrees Pisces. Now, the final degree of that pentagram is 7 degrees Libra. So Yelahiah is great. So if I refer to the Book of the Hidden Name, Yelahiah can assist in manifesting any desire. Her guidance provides paths to the best result available in various material desires for the best deals. She creates success. Overwhelm, stress, and anxiety can be reduced or removed. Interestingly, military professionals who serve in righteous causes receive aid in skill and favor and protection from weapons of all types. And she assists in liquidating debts from past lives by orienting one towards ascension. Long journeys become a pleasure to the soul, like we were saying, one step at a time, and a conduit to discover and explore new philosophies to achieve greater tranquility in future incarnations. So if you have a planet at 7 degrees Libra, and although I would think about it carefully if that planet is Pluto, Pluto in Libra generation is still alive, aren't they? So there's yes, I'd think carefully about it if it's Pluto. But if you have a planet at 7 degrees Libra, this would be an ideal full moon to actually sit and do a ritual with Yelahiah. I'll put the two spellings of her name in the description down below. The other interesting thing is when I noticed that this pentagram was active, I thought, oh, well, what is going on at the 7 degrees Libra point then? So I found 5 asteroids. So we have Clemeni Iduna, which is the goddess Eden, as in the golden apples of Eden, or Idun, however you want to pronounce it, Edna, Sisigambis, and Fini. Now, Edna is, let's have a look. Edna is an asteroid that may give a tranquil and contented existence. Of course, these are natal interpretations. You may bring joy and peace to the lives of others. Utopian ideals may develop, which is interesting under that Jupiter-Neptune conjunction that we're still under the energy of. But with all of this huge dose of practicality that has come in this chart to slap us around the face and beat us around the back of the head until we realize, okay, ideals are fine, how does it work? And feeling this is fine, is it doing you any good? Or can you feel a different way to move forward? Let's try Fini. Fini is an asteroid that may bestow the ability to optimize one's circumstances and increase benefits to oneself and others. Dream interpretations, manual labor, craftsmanship, foster parenting, and philanthropy may be favored pursuits. Iduna or Idun was the goddess of youth. This asteroid may confer the ability to refresh, reinvigorate, and infuse others. Clymene is bestows many great accomplishments and blessings, and also may mean you parent exceptional children if it's in a good place in your chart. There may be an inclination towards celebrity, renown, and popularity. The only one that had an issue that when I looked at this is why I paid attention to all the squares that I saw between planets in the 12 parts, was Sisigambis, who was an ancient Persian queen. She was the mother of Darius III of Persia, who was defeated by Alexander the Great and then fled. Alexander treated the deposed royal family with respect and care, the ones that were left, not including Darius III, who ran away. So this asteroid is said to give a position of inherited power and a life of both personal and political tumult. But there's also that sense of there is fortune there already. So if you're in a place of fortune, it's going to have some challenges. If you're not in that place of fortune, there's that sense of inheritance that some fortune can come once you are overcoming these difficulties. So light a candle, talk to Yelahiah. If you Google her, you will find all sorts of different ways to speak to her, or just light a candle on the full moon and talk to her and say, I want this. Is this a good idea for me? Is this right for me? And if it is, can I have it, please? And then just pay attention to the guidance that is around you. But remember that whatever you are doing is not just to benefit yourself. I mean, yes, benefit yourself. By all means, benefit yourself. But you look at what all those asteroids were talking about. They were talking about the joy that you can give to others, the fortune and good health that you can give to others. So something that's good for you and your family and your community and your whoever. Yeah, that's it. That's my soapbox bit over for this video.
You know, I
I'm
love what you're
so
saying,
excited.
and I want to give it. Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Elsa and the Hellenistic Astrology channel and Katie Dayton, which are my colleagues, Darren's colleagues as well. We have this other series on the decans of the zodiac that we are going through as the sun moves through those decans. Dee's helping us also in my channel in the First Place Astrology to do a tarot series following the decans as well. So tarot associations with those decans, if you want to check that out. And I want to mention it because we have done an Aries 3 video that has Venus ruling the decan. And what we were talking about a lot was that communal thing, like the things that you're doing, you're not just doing for yourself. Yes, it is focusing on yourself, on your self-improvement, on the higher development of your soul and of your ideals. But at the same time, it's checking out the best way to do it that includes everybody, that really you can share that particular experience of being who you are with people who appreciate it and people who will give you support for it. But also giving back to that community by being who you are and having that as a focus.
That is beautiful, because if you think the moon, straight after this full moon, goes straight into Yelahiah's quinance, the sun heading towards, well, where is it? It's already in Aries 3, isn't it? So,
oh, yes.
I need to do my tarot video for Aries 3, don't I?
You do, you do. I forgot to, yes, you do.
Oops. Okay, that will be later today. This, all of the challenges that this full moon brings, and we may as well get rid of the chart now, unless you've got what else you want to bring up about it. There's all of the challenges that this full moon is bringing, and it's bringing a barrow full, and it's going to come and it's going to tip that barrow on your doorstep, and you are going to leave your front door and trip over all of it. And that in and of itself will be a blessing, because it's going to take you in the right direction. Or you can just lie on the concrete and go, I've grazed myself and I hurt, you know, or get up, take these things that have been dumped on your doorstep and do something with them.
Yeah, something disciplined. Don't get lost in the sounds, you know, because you might, because of distractions, you know, escapism and things like that. Yeah.
Is that it? Have we got anything else to?
Well, shout out to the Astro-Collective as usual.
Yeah.
Just check that page out on Facebook. The Astro-Collective is this collective of astrologers with some colleagues that we have. You already know their names: Barbara, Navala, Peter, Saffron, Jolie, Elsa. So check that out. We have many contents coming out, still beginning, but we're going to produce more and more as time progresses. And tune in for the other series that we're doing together in my channel and Elsa's channel. The links are going to be down below. Give us a like. Don't forget to share and subscribe.
I don't need to say anything more now, do I? so good luck,
I just stick to lead there.
Do not let this full moon defeat you. If you are still standing at the end of it, then you're going to be walking towards a better place. But just walk slowly. Cheers.